Good evening, and welcome to the quiet edge of everything. Somewhere beyond the soft hum of your room, the night has folded itself into calm. The air is still. The stars, those ancient witnesses, hang silently above, each one carrying the faint memory of how it all began. Tonight, as the world outside settles, you and I will drift backwards, not just through history, but through time itself. Back before stars were born, before light had anywhere to shine, before even the idea of before existed. This is the story of the beginning, told slowly, gently, as though the universe were whispering it into your half-dreaming mind. Take a breath. Imagine yourself lying beneath a sky so vast that even thought seems small. The air around you feels older than memory. Every atom in your body, every bit of you, was once part of something unimaginably hot, unimaginably dense. A single shimmering point that contained everything the cosmos would ever be. It's hard to picture, isn't it? The idea that the entire universe, billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, every planet, every possibility, once fit into something smaller than a grain of sand. Yet it did. That's where our journey begins. The story of the Big Bang is not an explosion story. There was no fireball tearing through empty space, no deafening detonation echoing into silence. There was no space yet to explode into, no silence to be disturbed. There was only expansion, a smooth, quiet stretching of everything that could ever exist. Space itself was being woven. And you, every particle that would one day make up your breath, your blood, your thoughts, was part of that unfolding. For most of human history, people believed the night sky was eternal, a perfect dome stretched over the world. They imagined gods hammering stars into place, or cosmic eggs cracking open to release creation. Myths, yes, but also beautiful intuitions that the universe had a beginning. They looked upward and sensed a mystery that refused to be still. And though their languages were poetic rather than mathematical, they were, in a sense, already listening to the same silence we now call the Big Bang. Centuries passed before science began to hear that silence too. In the early 20th century, astronomers started to notice something odd about the light from distant galaxies. It wasn't static. It was stretched, as if the light itself were sighing through space. The galaxies weren't racing through the cosmos. Instead, the cosmos itself was expanding between them. When you trace that expansion backward, the galaxies draw closer, the light grows bluer, the density increases, and eventually you arrive at a moment when everything was one. That moment, if moment even makes sense when time itself is just beginning, is what we call the Big Bang. A name that, amusingly, began as a joke. In 1949, a British astronomer named Fred Hoyle used it mockingly during a radio broadcast. He didn't believe in the theory and called it the Big Bang to make it sound absurd. Yet the name stayed, and the universe, with all its quiet irony, adopted it as truth. But the truth itself is subtler. The Big Bang wasn't loud, and it wasn't quick. It was soft, steady, and everywhere at once. The entire universe expanded uniformly, not from a point into space, but from a point that was space. There was no center to move away from, no edge to cross. Imagine dots drawn on the surface of a balloon. As the balloon inflates, the dots move apart, not because they're moving on their own, but because the surface beneath them is stretching. Now, take away the balloon, take away the air, take away the idea of outside, and that's closer to what happened to space itself. If you stood anywhere in that universe, you would see everything moving away from you, no matter where you were. Every galaxy receding in every direction, as if you were at the center of the universe. But so would every other observer on every other galaxy. There is no true center. It's all relative, all equally expanding. Space doesn't grow into something, it simply becomes more of itself. The faint afterglow of that first light still surrounds us. We call it the cosmic microwave background, the cooled whisper of creation, stretched over time into invisible radio waves. Every night it passes through you, through your walls, through the earth itself. It's the universe's oldest memory, a soft residue of heat that never quite faded. When you see static on an old television, a tiny fraction of that noise, around 1%, is the echo of the Big Bang. You have literally seen the birth of everything flicker across a screen. As the universe expanded, it cooled. The fire softened into light, and the light thinned into warmth. Over billions of years, gravity gathered matter into clouds, clouds into stars, stars into galaxies. And here we are, floating in that same breath of creation, still expanding, still cooling, still unfolding. The Big Bang didn't end. It's still happening, just slower now, stretched across eons instead of seconds. The quiet between stars is not emptiness. It's motion, disguised as calm. It's strange to think that everything, this moment, your heartbeat, the sound of your breathing, exists because of a pattern so simple it built the universe. The same equations that describe falling apples describe the birth of galaxies. The same physics that governs a candle's flicker governs the fusion inside suns. The universe isn't chaotic, disorganized, elegant, patient. It has been humming the same tune since the beginning, one of rhythm, balance, and inevitable unfolding. When you look up at the night sky, you are not looking into space. You are looking into time. The light from some of those stars began its journey long before Earth formed, long before the sun existed. Every photon is a messenger from the past, a traveler carrying news from a younger universe. That faint glow you see tonight began its journey billions of years ago, and yet it arrives at your eyes, quietly completing a mission older than your species. This is what makes the Big Bang not just a theory, but a story that belongs to you. Because you, too, are part of that expansion. The atoms that form your body were once packed so closely together they shared a single origin. You were always here, in a way, just waiting for time to unfold enough for you to take shape, to breathe, to wonder where you came from. When people imagine the Big Bang, they often picture a loud beginning, a sudden spark followed by silence. But perhaps it was more like a sunrise, gradual and unstoppable. The universe didn't explode into being. It bloomed. Every moment since has been part of that bloom. The galaxies drifting apart are like petals unfolding, still growing, still reaching. And as you lie here, somewhere within that vast unfolding, you are not separate from it. You're part of the same motion, the same expansion, the same quiet miracle. The atoms in your bones were born from stars that were born from hydrogen that was born from the Big Bang. You are, quite literally, the universe learning to look back at itself. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine the first light spreading through darkness. Not a flash, but a glow that grows wider, softer, calmer. The first warmth of something that had never existed before. Spreads in every direction, without sound, without rush. And as it does, space itself begins to breathe. Each breath larger than the last, until the cosmos itself becomes the rhythm. The same rhythm that moves through you now. The Big Bang was not an event to witness. It was a beginning to belong to. You are not outside of it, gazing in. You are it, still unfolding, still expanding softly everywhere all the time. And somewhere, beyond everything we can see, that first whisper of light continues to stretch, patient and eternal. The universe isn't rushing anywhere. It's simply becoming. And so are you. When the universe first began to cool, light could not yet travel freely. The cosmos was dense, filled with a hot, glowing fog of particles. Protons, electrons, photons. all colliding and scattering in every direction. Imagine being inside a storm of light so thick that nothing could pass through it. The universe was bright, but it wasn't transparent. Every particle of light, every photon, was constantly bumping into matter, unable to take a clear path. For nearly 400,000 years, the cosmos existed in this shimmering blindness, radiant yet unseen, illuminated yet hidden from its own reflection. But like all storms, even that brilliance began to calm. As space continued to expand, its temperature fell. What had once been a furious plasma began to cool to something gentler. And then, slowly, elegantly, the particles started to find one another. Electrons settled into orbits around protons, forming the first atoms. For the first time in all of existence, light was free to move without being endlessly scattered. This was the universe's first breath of clarity. We call it recombination, the moment when light and matter parted ways, each destined to follow its own path through time. Every beam of light you see today, every sunrise and every distant starlight, carries within it the memory of that moment. The ability for light to travel freely is not just a technical detail of physics. It's the very reason we can see the universe at all. Before recombination, space was like milk, thick, glowing, impenetrable. After it, space became glass, clear, transparent, alive with radiance. From that clarity came something beautiful, the cosmic microwave background. It is the oldest light in existence, still arriving from every direction even now, stretched and softened by billions of years of expansion. When you look up at the night sky, you're not merely looking outward, you're looking backward in time into that faint, ancient afterglow. The cosmic background is the universe's baby picture, a portrait taken when it was only a few 100,000 years old. The light has faded, cooled to just a few degrees above absolute zero, but it still fills all of space. It whispers from the static of old radios, hums faintly in microwave detectors, and washes through your body every second. You are living inside the faint echo of the universe's first visible breath. And yet, even this smooth light carries secrets. Look closely, really closely, and it's not perfectly even. It has tiny ripples, subtle variations in temperature, only 1 part in 100,000. These slight imperfections may seem trivial, but they are everything. They are the fingerprints of creation, the seeds from which every galaxy, every star, every atom in your body would eventually grow. Where the light was slightly hotter, matter was slightly denser. And where matter was denser, gravity began its patient work, pulling, shaping, gathering. At this stage, the universe looked deceptively simple. A vast sea of hydrogen and helium stretching endlessly in every direction. No stars, no galaxies, just a quiet glow and a promise of what would come. But hidden beneath that calm surface was something mysterious, something we still barely understand. Dark matter. Dark matter doesn't shine or reflect. It doesn't dance with light. It is invisible, but its gravity is real, so real that it sculpts the universe. You can think of dark matter as a kind of invisible scaffolding, the quiet framework around which everything luminous would later form. It doesn't sparkle in telescopes, but it holds galaxies together, like a web of unseen threads keeping the cosmos from unraveling. Without dark matter, the story of light would have stopped early. Ordinary matter, the atoms that make stars, planets, and you, doesn't clump efficiently on its own. It's too easily pushed around by radiation. But dark matter, unaffected by light, began collapsing long before anything visible could follow. It created the first dense pockets, the gravitational wells that would later pull in gas and ignite the first stars. In a very real sense, dark matter built the stage, and light merely performed upon it. The discovery of dark matter, centuries later, came not from seeing it, but from noticing what shouldn't be. In the 1930s, astronomer Fritz Zwicky studied clusters of galaxies and found they were moving far too fast. The visible matter wasn't enough to keep them bound together. Something unseen had to be adding gravity, something massive yet invisible. Decades later, Vera Rubin, studying the rotation of galaxies, confirmed it. The stars at the edges were moving just as fast as those near the center. An impossible balance unless an invisible halo of matter surrounded them. And so, with quiet persistence, the evidence began to stack. Light bending around invisible masses. Galaxies behaving as if held in unseen hands. Ripples in the cosmic background fitting models only when dark matter was included. Every clue whispered the same story, that the visible universe, the stars and galaxies we can see, is just the frosting. The real cake lies hidden underneath. Even now, dark matter outweighs everything we know 5-1. For every gram of atoms, there are 5 grams of this unseen substance, shaping the gravitational landscape of all we observe. Without it, galaxies would have taken billions of years longer to form, if they formed at all. It is the silent architect of the cosmos, the reason there are stars at all to light the dark. And yet, for all our science, we still don't know what it is. Perhaps it's made of undiscovered particles, WIMPs, axions, or something stranger. Perhaps it's a property of space itself. Or perhaps, like so many cosmic mysteries, it's something beyond even our current imagination. We've built detectors deep underground, in frozen mountains and quiet caverns, waiting to catch the faintest sign of its passage. So far, silence. The invisible remains invisible, but the search continues, patient as gravity itself. Think about that for a moment. The majority of the universe is made of something we cannot see. The stars we marvel at are mere traces, the thin glow of a far deeper shadow. When you look up at the sky, the darkness isn't emptiness. It's substance. It's structure. It's meaning. It's the unseen backbone of creation. Somehow there's poetry in that. The most powerful force in the cosmos is invisible, and yet it's what allows everything visible to exist. Without darkness, there would be no light to shine. Without the unseen, there would be nothing to see. As the young universe continued to cool, these invisible filaments of dark matter began to pull hydrogen and helium toward them. Slowly, over millions of years, the first clouds thickened, compressed, and finally began to burn. The darkness kindled light once again. The first stars were born. Their glow would pierce the cosmic fog and end the universe's long night. But that is a story for the next chapter, the moment the cosmos learned to shine. After the first light escaped and the fog of plasma cleared, the universe was no longer a blinding ocean of energy. It had become vast and open, a silent sea of hydrogen and helium stretching endlessly in every direction. It looked peaceful, but beneath that calm, gravity was busy at work, tugging at the faint ripples left in the ancient light. Those ripples, tiny variations in density, were the first signs of structure. They were the whispers that would one day become galaxies. Dark matter, invisible and cold, moved first. While ordinary matter was still tangled with radiation, dark matter flowed freely, gathering into invisible filaments and knots. Imagine a vast web beginning to weave itself across the young cosmos. Threads of unseen substance pulling gently on everything around them. Hydrogen and helium followed those threads, falling into the valleys of gravity. Slowly, delicately, the universe began to take shape. First, nothing shone. The cosmos had entered what astronomers poetically call the Dark Ages, a time before the first stars, when the universe was transparent but unlit. There were no suns, no galaxies, only silent gas drifting through the vastness. Space was not empty. It was waiting, Every particle carried the potential for light, the memory of fire. The darkness wasn't lifeless. It was expectant, like the hush before dawn. And then, after hundreds of millions of years, something stirred. Gravity had done its patient work. In certain regions where matter was slightly denser, the pull became irresistible. Clouds of hydrogen collapsed inward, heating as they fell, growing denser, hotter, tighter, until at last, in their hearts, atoms began to fuse. Hydrogen turned into helium, and in that fusion, light returned to the universe. These were the first stars, the pioneers of starlight, known as population 3 stars. They were nothing like the stars you see now. They were enormous, hundreds of times more massive than the sun, burning hotter and brighter than anything that has shone since. They were short-lived titans, blazing with ultraviolet fire, transforming the cosmos around them. For the first time since the Big Bang, the darkness was broken. Light streamed outward, filling the void. The universe had opened its eyes. But these stars did more than shine, they changed everything. Their fierce radiation began to strip electrons from surrounding hydrogen atoms, turning neutral gas back into plasma. This great transformation is known as reionization, a second clearing of the cosmic fog. Slowly, bubble by bubble, regions around the first stars became transparent again. It was as if the universe was learning to breathe light once more. Inside those blazing stars, something else was happening. In their cores, fusion forged new elements: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, iron. The building blocks of life were being created for the very first time. When those massive stars died, many exploded as supernovae, scattering their ashes across space. Each explosion was both an ending and a beginning. The debris from those deaths seeded the next generation of stars, the first galaxies, and the raw material for everything that would follow. Every atom of carbon in your body, every oxygen molecule you breathe, every trace of iron in your blood was born from those first deaths. The universe began as hydrogen and helium, but it learned complexity through fire. The first stars were its teachers, and everything since has been their echo. And yet, none of those original stars remain. They lived fast, burned furiously, and died young. We've never seen one directly. They are too ancient, too far. Their light stretched and faded beyond reach. But their fingerprints are everywhere, in the chemistry of old stars, in the metallic traces of distant galaxies, in the very existence of planets like Earth. They are ghosts whose lessons still shape everything we see. The birth of these first stars marked the end of the Dark Ages and the beginning of what astronomers call the cosmic dawn. Tiny galaxies began to appear, fragile collections of gas and starlight held together by dark matter halos. They collided, merged, and grew, forming the grand spirals and clusters we see today. Every luminous shape that decorates the modern universe was born from that early chaos, a kind of cosmic adolescence filled with both violence and beauty. Imagine it now, a universe still new, where the first galaxies glow like embers scattered through a sea of night. Their light travels for billions of years before it will ever reach us. Their collisions send ripples through space-time itself. Between them, the intergalactic medium flickers with the fading glow of ionized gas, the aftermath of the first fires. It's almost humbling to realize how young those galaxies were, small, uneven, imperfect. But through their imperfections, the universe found balance. Gravity stitched their shapes together while radiation sculpted their edges. Light and darkness played their eternal duet, and from that harmony came order. Today, when we look at the faintest galaxies with telescopes like the James Webb, we are looking into that very dawn. Their light, stretched and softened by cosmic expansion, carries the signature of that first awakening. It's not just starlight, it's memory made visible. The universe, at this point, was less than 1 billion years old. Yet already it had written the first lines of its story. The emergence of structure, the creation of elements, the rebirth of light. Every galaxy that followed was a continuation of that first song. If you could stand in that ancient cosmos, you would see a landscape unlike anything imaginable. There would be no planets, no moons, just vast clouds of glowing gas drifting between enormous, brilliant stars. You would feel the heat of radiation still warm from the Big Bang and watch as the first galaxies formed before your eyes. The sky would shimmer not with points of light, but with entire regions of brightness, patches of creation in progress. And in those moments you might realize something profound. Everything was connected. The dark matter filaments that shaped those galaxies were the same that would later shape the Milky Way. The stars that first burned were the ancestors of every sun that followed. The hydrogen that blazed within them would someday flow in your veins. The universe was no longer a silent sea. It had begun to sing. The song was faint, a harmony of light and gravity, of fire and expansion. It had no words, no rhythm, yet its melody was universal, the soundless hymn of creation, echoing through the vacuum. And though billions of years have passed, that song continues still. Every photon from those first stars is still traveling outward, crossing unimaginable distances, carrying the story forward. If you listen closely enough, if you look deep enough, you can still find it, faint but steady, woven into the background of existence. The darkness had not been empty after all. It was waiting for light. And when the first stars ignited, the universe remembered what it was meant to be: luminous, creative, alive. It's strange, isn't it, that we live in a universe that began in silence but chose to shine. Because even here, in this quiet interlude between blinding fire and first dawn, the universe was not still. It was preparing, organizing, shaping. Every whisper of gravity, every ripple in the light, was part of a grand choreography. Matter was following music it could not hear. And from that rhythm, galaxies would someday bloom. The next time you see the night sky, remember this: what you're looking at is not just beauty, it's history. The stars are the echoes of a time when the universe first cleared its throat and began to speak in light. But behind that light, unseen and unspoken, is a greater mystery. The dark framework that holds it all together. The unseen story within the story. The silence beneath the song. And that silence is still there, holding everything. As the first stars lived out their brief, magnificent lives, the universe began to change again. Each explosion, each flicker of fusion, left behind new elements and new light, enriching the dark sea that once had only hydrogen and helium. It was a slow blooming, a cosmic springtime unfolding across billions of light years. The universe was learning complexity. The death of the first stars filled the cosmos with the ashes of creation: carbon, oxygen, iron, nitrogen. The same elements that would one day form oceans, trees, and skin. The once silent void now shimmered with possibilities. Those explosions also stirred the surrounding gas, compressing and heating it, triggering the birth of newer, smaller, steadier stars. Galaxies began to take shape around them. Tiny islands of light adrift in the endless dark. At first, these galaxies were fragile things, clumpy and irregular. Some were no larger than modern star clusters, flickering like distant embers. Yet gravity never rested. It gathered them together, merging, colliding, sculpting grander shapes. Over hundreds of millions of years, graceful spirals and giant elliptical galaxies emerged, spinning slowly in the deep. Each of these galaxies carried with it a quiet secret, the hidden architecture of dark matter beneath. Like an invisible web, it threaded the cosmos, guiding the dance of light. Gas flowed along those filaments, cooling in their shadows, settling into stars and planets. The visible universe was simply tracing the outline of an unseen structure. If you could step back far enough, so far that galaxies appeared as specks, you would see that structure revealed. The universe is not random. It is woven into a cosmic web, filaments of galaxies stretching across unimaginable distances, connected at glowing knots where clusters form. Between them lie vast, silent voids, bubbles of near emptiness, so wide that entire superclusters could drift through them without ever meeting. The pattern looks familiar, almost biological, like the network of neurons in a brain or the veins beneath a leaf. Nature loves repetition. Its designs echo across scale and time. Scientists mapped this grand design by measuring the redshift of galaxies, how much their light stretched as the universe expanded. One by one, the dots formed chains, walls, and rivers of light. What had seemed chaos became order. The structure of everything emerged, simple yet profound. But there was more happening than just beauty. This cosmic architecture held clues to the universe's hidden history. The same ripples that shaped the cosmic microwave background had now grown into the galaxies themselves. The peaks and troughs of those primordial sound waves set the rhythm for where matter gathered. Each cluster, each filament, was a note in the lingering song of the Big Bang. If you could translate that pattern into sound, it would hum, a low, eternal vibration, the frozen music of creation. Astronomers even have a name for this: baryon acoustic oscillations. They are the fossilized echoes of pressure waves that rippled through the hot early universe, now preserved in the spacing of galaxies. The cosmos remembers its first heartbeat. As time passed, stars kept living and dying, and galaxies grew heavier with metals and dust. New generations of stars were cooler and more stable, glowing yellow instead of blue, lasting billions of years instead of millions. Around some of them, disks of gas began to condense into planets. In the same slow, inevitable rhythm that governs everything, the universe was preparing for life. But even as galaxies matured, something else began to whisper through the fabric of space. Something stranger than dark matter, more elusive than light. The expansion of the universe, which had been slowing under the pull of gravity, began to quicken. Astronomers discovered this much later by studying distant supernovae, those brief, brilliant deaths of stars. The light from these explosions carried a strange message. Galaxies far away were receding faster than expected. Space itself was stretching faster and faster, as if some hidden force were pushing it outward. They called this new mystery dark energy. It was not a gust or a wave. It was everywhere, evenly, like a gentle pressure built into the very fabric of space-time. Its effect was subtle but unstoppable. If gravity was the universe's great embrace, dark energy was its slow exhale. Imagine a ball tossed upward. Gravity should slow it, bring it back down. But what if, instead, the ball began to accelerate upward, rising faster the higher it went? That's what our universe is doing. Space isn't just expanding, it's accelerating, as if drawn forward by something invisible. Today, dark energy makes up about 2/3 of everything in existence. Dark matter adds roughly another quarter. All the stars, planets, dust, and gas, the entire visible universe, make up less than 5% of the total. In other words, almost everything that exists is unseen, unfelt, and unknown. Yet it all fits together perfectly balanced. Dark matter pulls galaxies inward, holding them together. Dark energy pushes the fabric of space outward, driving them apart. Between those opposing forces, existence maintains its quiet tension. It's humbling, isn't it? To realize that the things we can see, The stars, the galaxies, the colors of night are the smallest part of the story. The rest is silence and mystery. But that mystery isn't frightening. It's elegant. The cosmos doesn't hide its secrets out of malice. It hides them because we are still learning to listen. And even in the parts we can't yet see, the pattern remains the same. Balance, rhythm, beauty. So when you look up at the stars tonight, try to imagine the invisible web between them, glowing faintly in your mind. Picture galaxies sliding along those unseen threads, drawn by gravity, carried by expansion, all part of a cosmic dance that began before time had a name. The dark and the light moving together. Somewhere within that dance, among the billions of stars, on a small blue world orbiting an ordinary sun, consciousness arose. Eyes that could look back at the stars and wonder. You are that awareness, the universe looking at itself. And in that realization lies one quiet truth. We are not separate from the cosmos. We are its continuation, its memory, its reflection. We are stardust that learned to ask questions. The galaxies continue their slow drift. The dark energy continues its patient push. And through it all, the same gentle hum persists, the vibration of space itself, stretching softly, endlessly, like the long, calm breath of creation. As the young universe continued to evolve, its rhythm became more intricate, its texture more alive. Stars no longer lived and died in isolation. They gathered into families, clusters, and great spiraling structures that filled the cosmic canvas with motion. The once chaotic sea of gas and light had organized itself into galaxies, some grand and symmetrical, others wild and irregular, each carrying its own story written in starlight. Among these, our own Milky Way began to take shape. It didn't appear in a single instant. It grew like a tree, through mergers and collisions, absorbing smaller galaxies, reshaping itself over billions of years. Streams of stars, remnants of those early collisions, still arc through our night sky, faint trails of cosmic ancestry. The Milky Way, now so serene, was once a creature of violence, a survivor of countless cosmic embraces. In its heart, like the hearts of nearly all galaxies, lies a supermassive black hole, a gravitational well millions of times heavier than the sun. It sits silently at the center, unseen but omnipresent, shaping the galaxy's rhythm. It doesn't devour everything around it. Instead, it anchors the dance. When matter does fall inward, it spirals, heats, and releases bursts of energy that can outshine entire galaxies. From darkness comes radiance, another paradox written into the universe's design. These black holes are not monsters. They are sculptors. Without them, galaxies might never have formed as they did. Their gravity helps regulate star formation, balancing creation with stillness. It's strange to think that even in the vastest systems, the pattern remains the same. Chaos giving birth to harmony, destruction serving as a quiet architect. As the universe aged, star formation slowed. The early frenzy of creation softened into maturity. New stars continued to form, but at a gentler pace, fed by recycled gas from dying generations. Inside the arms of galaxies, dust clouds condensed into new solar systems, each one a small experiment in possibility. In one such cloud, on the outskirts of the Milky Way, a small yellow star was born, our sun. It was unremarkable by cosmic standards, but within the swirl of gas and dust surrounding it, something rare was forming. The leftover debris began to coalesce, colliding and clumping under gravity's quiet insistence. Within a few million years, 9 major worlds took shape, along with thousands of asteroids and comets. Around one of those worlds, conditions were just right for something extraordinary to begin. That world, drenched in sunlight and ocean spray, would one day name itself Earth. But the Earth story is not separate from the cosmic one. It's a continuation, an echo of the same creative rhythm that began at the Big Bang. Every molecule of water, every grain of soil, every spark of life traces its lineage back to stars that lived and died long before the sun ever rose. The oxygen in your lungs, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all forged in the hearts of stars, carried through supernova winds, scattered across space, gathered again in a newborn solar system, and eventually assembled into you. You are the universe's memory made living. When you breathe, you participate in the oldest cycle there is, the movement of atoms between stars and life, between life and stars again. The same carbon that fuels your cells once drifted between galaxies. The same hydrogen that fills your veins once blazed in the first suns. We are not visitors here. We are the continuation of the cosmos, given form, breath, and thought. And perhaps that is the quietest miracle of all. From simplicity, hydrogen, helium, gravity, came complexity, beauty, and consciousness. The same laws that shaped galaxies shaped your mind. The same forces that governed the first atoms now govern the firing of neurons as you wonder about them. The universe didn't just make stars, it made awareness capable of seeing stars. As the Milky Way continued to turn, the sun's planets settled into their eternal clockwork. Earth cooled, oceans formed, lightning flashed through its atmosphere, and chemistry began to dream. Molecules found rhythm, joined hands, formed chains, and learned to replicate. Life had begun, not as a miracle separate from physics, but as its most delicate expression. Across time, those early cells evolved, diversified, and adapted, driven by the same balance between chaos and order that governs galaxies. Evolution, like the cosmos, is not random. It is a slow conversation between chance and necessity, between destruction and renewal. Every extinction paved the way for something new. Every failure a quiet refinement of possibility. And through that refinement came beings who could look up and ask, where did we come from? Beings who could tell stories of beginnings and endings, who could trace their ancestry not just through bloodlines, but through atoms, stars, and time itself. That question, the one that echoes in the human mind, is itself part of the story. The moment curiosity arose, the universe became self-aware. When you gaze at the stars, you are not merely looking outward, you are the universe looking back at itself, through eyes it built over billions of years. All of this began from that first shimmer of energy, that quiet expansion we call the Big Bang. Every breath you take is a continuation of that event, stretched and slowed into the rhythm of life. The same force that once pushed galaxies apart still expands your chest as you inhale. The same calm that filled the early universe lingers in the silence between your heartbeats. It's easy to forget that connection. The pace of human life is fast, noisy, full of motion that hides the deeper motion beneath. But when you pause, when you let stillness return, you can almost feel it. The quiet hum of being. The same hum that has been present since the beginning. The Big Bang was not a single explosion. It was the beginning of a long unfolding, one that is still happening. The story didn't end with galaxies or with Earth. Continues in every thought, every cell, every atom in motion. We are, each of us, moments of that unfolding temporary patterns in a timeless sea. And perhaps that's the truest meaning of belonging. Not to a country, not to a century, but to a universe that has been creating and recreating itself for nearly 14 billion years. To be alive is to be part of that rhythm, to carry it forward softly, in every breath. So as you lie beneath the night sky, watching the Milky Way stretch from horizon to horizon, remember, that light has been traveling for millions of years just to reach your eyes. The stars you see are long dead, yet their light still lives. The darkness between them is not empty. It's the promise of more creation yet to come. The story of the cosmos is not just something you study. It's something you are. Every particle, every memory, every quiet moment of awe is a continuation of that first light. The Big Bang never truly ended. It simply became us. The universe had been unfolding for billions of years before consciousness arrived to notice. Galaxies had already spun their slow spirals, stars had lived and died, and countless worlds had circled in silence. Then, on one small blue planet wrapped in clouds and salt water, something extraordinary began to stir. Matter learned to wonder. At first, it was simple: eyes reflecting light, minds tracking shadows, instincts adjusting to the rhythm of day and night. But slowly, those eyes began to lift toward the sky. In the flicker of campfires and the hush of early nights, the first humans looked up and saw the same stars that had burned since the universe's dawn. They did not know equations or spectra, yet they sensed something ancient, a connection that words could only circle but never hold. They gave the stars names, wove them into stories, and traced meaning across the dark. Constellations became companions, calendars, gods. The sky was not distant. It was intimate, a mirror in which humanity saw both mystery and reflection. In the turning of the heavens, they found rhythm for their crops, omens for their wars, hope for their souls. The universe had become a language, and humans its new voice. As centuries turned, curiosity deepened. Stone gave way to metal, fire to glass. A new kind of seeing began, telescopes extending our eyes, mathematics sharpening our thoughts. We discovered that the stars were suns, and that Earth was not the center but one small wanderer among billions. For some, this realization felt humbling. For others, liberating. The cosmos was vaster than imagined, yet somehow more personal because we belonged to it completely. The same iron that glowed in distant stars coursed in our blood. The same carbon that built galaxies formed our cells. We were not guests in the universe. We were its offspring. When we looked up, we were looking back home. Science, for all its precision, did not strip the sky of wonder. It multiplied it. Each discovery only deepened the sense of awe. We found that galaxies move apart, that time bends, that light can be stretched like music. We learned that black holes hum, that quantum fields ripple through every inch of space, that the universe is both infinite and finite, both eternal and fragile. And still, when you step outside at night and tilt your head toward the stars, the feeling remains the same as it was for our ancestors. Quiet, wordless, infinite. You are standing on a planet born from cosmic fire, surrounded by the ghosts of suns long dead, breathing atoms that once burned in the first stars. Perhaps that's what it means to be human, not to master the cosmos but to remember it, to feel, even faintly, the pulse of creation inside yourself, to know that your heartbeat and the expansion of space follow the same rhythm. Steady, patient, inevitable. You are not apart from the universe, nor merely within it. You are the way the universe perceives itself. Each thought, each question, each flicker of awareness is the cosmos turning its gaze inward, whispering, "What am I?" And maybe that question is its purest act of creation, the one that continues still every night when another mind looks up and wonders. Far beyond our blue world, the universe continues to grow. The same silent expansion that began 13.8 billion years ago has never stopped. Space stretches, galaxies drift apart, and the fabric of existence itself becomes thinner, cooler, quieter. To us, it feels still, but only because the scale of motion is so vast that our senses cannot grasp it. Even now, new galaxies are moving beyond the reach of light. The farther they go, the faster they recede, until their glow can never touch us again. Each moment, more of the cosmos slips beyond visibility, like lanterns fading into endless mist. The observable universe is not fixed. It is a bubble of awareness, slowly shrinking against the backdrop of eternity. And yet, here we are, inside that bubble, alive in the rare middle age of creation. Stars still burn. Galaxies still form. The night sky still sparkles with the memory of its youth. This is the universe in its golden hour. Neither newborn nor old, filled with just enough light to illuminate the mystery. Physicists call it expansion, but perhaps it is more like breathing. The cosmos inhales and exhales through eons, a rhythm so slow that entire civilizations pass between beats. One day, long after we are gone, that breath will lengthen further. Star formation will end, galaxies will dim, and only embers of ancient suns will remain. The night will deepen into true silence. But this is not tragedy. It is the natural continuation of what began in brilliance. The same energy that created everything will disperse back into balance. Entropy is not decay. It is the universe resting. Even heat death, that final stillness, is not an ending. It is peace. A cosmic exhale after an eternity of creation. And if that sounds lonely, remember, the universe has always carried its beauty in silence. It doesn't need eyes to be magnificent or ears to make its music. This harmony exists whether or not someone listens. And perhaps, somewhere beyond time, there will always be another beginning, another breath, another unfolding. For now, though, we exist in the miracle of now. Every moment is a thin, luminous bridge between the fire that began it all and the quiet that will someday follow. The atoms in your body, born from long-dead stars, are shining again, for a brief, brilliant interval, as thought, as awareness, as life. You are not separate from the expansion. You are the expansion, living space stretched into consciousness. Every heartbeat, every sigh, every thought is another tiny ripple in the same cosmic tide. And as you drift into sleep, remember this. The universe is not racing away from you. It is carrying you with it softly, endlessly. You are not lost in its immensity. You are its continuation, its quiet human expression of eternity. Time, in the universe's scale, is patient beyond imagination. The cosmos we see now, bright, dynamic, alive with galaxies, exists in a narrow moment between birth and rest. One day, far ahead, the sky will change again. The galaxies that now fill our telescopes will drift too far for their light to ever reach us. Space will stretch faster than light can cross it, and the stars we see tonight will one by one disappear from the cosmic stage. In that distant future, the Milky Way and its neighbor Andromeda will merge, forming a vast new galaxy, an elegant, silent spiral often imagined as Milkomeda. Stars will collide only rarely. Instead, they will weave new orbits in a larger, calmer pattern. To any being who might live then, the sky will glow with billions of suns in a single galactic field, brighter and nearer than ever before. For a while, the universe will seem reborn, rich with light again, filled with new stars born from ancient gas. But this too will pass. Star formation will slow. The galaxies will use up their fuel, and no new suns will ignite. One by one, the stars will fade, the blue ones first, then the white, then the long-lived red dwarfs whose soft light will linger for trillions of years. When they too go dark, only the afterglow of dead stars will remain. White dwarfs cooling into black embers, neutron stars spinning faintly in the cold. Imagine that universe. No starlight, only darkness sprinkled with silent remnants. Yet even there, the story continues. Black holes, the heavy hearts of galaxies, will persist, swallowing what remains until they, too, begin to fade. Through the slow process of Hawking radiation, they will evaporate, releasing their mass back into energy. The cosmos will grow darker still, until even black holes become memory. And then quiet. The temperature of space will approach absolute zero, and the once fiery energy of creation will settle into calm equilibrium. No more fusion, no more light. Only particles wandering through the infinite dark, each one a tiny spark of what once was. To us, that might sound like an ending, but endings are human inventions, born of our short perception of time. The universe knows only transformation. It does not mourn its fading light. It flows into balance. The same laws that birth stars will guide their return to silence. It is not death. It is rest. And even in that stillness, the memory of everything remains. Every photon that ever existed will continue its journey, faint but eternal, rippling softly through the black. The fabric of space itself will still hum with the residual echo of the Big Bang, stretched beyond measure but never lost. The first light and the last will coexist, bound in the same continuum. If consciousness survives somewhere within that far horizon, perhaps in new forms, beyond biology, beyond matter, it might look upon that quiet universe and feel no sadness, only peace. For it will know, as we know now, that everything born of the cosmos is part of its ongoing breath. We are not meant to see the end. We are meant to understand that there is no true end, only the next state of being. The Big Bang was not a single spark that faded. It was the beginning of a pattern that continues forever, in ways we cannot yet imagine. So as you lie here, in this brief golden age of light, let the thought comfort you. You exist at a perfect moment, when the stars still burn, when galaxies still speak in color, when the universe still glows with youth. You are made of the same materials that will someday rest in that quiet future. You are the living interval between the first light and the last. And in that awareness lies something eternal, the realization that even as everything changes, nothing is ever truly lost. There is a theory whispered among physicists and dreamers alike, that the universe may not end at all, that its story might loop, repeating in cycles beyond comprehension. Expansion followed by contraction, creation followed by rebirth, cosmic heartbeat. In this view, the Big Bang was not the first note but one of many in an endless symphony. The universe expands, cools, and eventually, perhaps through some deep symmetry of physics, folds back upon itself. Galaxies converge once more, heat rises, and from the collapse, a new beginning blooms. A new cosmos, born from the ashes of the old, carrying traces of what came before. It is a poetic thought, that time might be circular, that everything we know will return, perhaps not identical but resonant. The atoms that form your body could one day be part of a new star, a new planet, a new consciousness staring at a different sky. The story, once begun, never really stops. It just changes tempo. But even if the universe never truly collapses, the idea of return is built into everything. The cycles of creation echo across all scales. Stars are born, shine, and die only to give birth to new stars. Planets form, erode, and reform. Life arises, evolves, and transforms. In every death, there is continuity. In every silence, a prelude. We live in that rhythm too. Each breath, each heartbeat, is an echo of cosmic motion. The cells in your body are constantly dying and being renewed, your mind continuously rewriting itself in light of new experience. You are not a fixed being, you are a process, a pattern, a small reflection of the universe's infinite flow. Even memory follows that rhythm. The mind lets go of what it no longer needs, making space for what's next. Forgetting is a kind of cosmic mercy, a reminder that even within human time, creation requires release. And when you close your eyes at night, drifting into sleep, you are performing the smallest version of that universal cycle. Consciousness dissolves into stillness, only to rise again with the dawn. Each day, a microcosm of expansion and return. Whether the universe truly ends in silence or begins again in flame is not what matters. What matters is that, for a time, it created beauty, and awareness of that beauty. That, for a fraction of eternity, it became self-aware, capable of awe. The physicist Brian Greene once said, "The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you, and yet somehow it does, not through logic alone, but through the quiet recognition that we are part of its pattern. The same equations that shape galaxies shape the rise and fall of your own life. The same expansion that moves galaxies apart governs the spaces between your thoughts. Perhaps eternity is not about endless time, but about timeless belonging. You have always been here in one form or another since the first particle, since the first breath of light. And you will continue to be in ways you cannot name. The atoms of your body are restless travelers. One day, they will scatter back into space, joining the same vast flow that has always been. And perhaps, in some future cycle, they will meet again, not as you, but as something new. A spark in another universe. A new beginning waiting to unfold. So when you close your eyes tonight and feel the quiet expanding inside you, remember, you are part of the rhythm. You are the universe's pause between one breath and the next. And as you drift deeper, you return, not to an end, but to the beginning that never truly ended. Silence, we often say, defines the universe. Yet, if we could listen differently, we'd realize the cosmos has never been truly quiet. Every star, every planet, every collision hums with invisible vibration. Space is filled with sound, just not the kind we can hear. Long before humans existed, the universe sang. Not in melody, but in waves, pressure ripples moving through plasma, stretching and compressing matter. These ancient vibrations, born just after the Big Bang, shaped everything that followed. They were the universe's first heartbeat, echoing through time as faint fluctuations in the cosmic microwave background. If you could translate those ripples into sound, they would be impossibly deep, far below human hearing. The universe's voice, if played through the air, would resonate like a cello the size of infinity. One single, continuous note stretching across billions of years. Even now, space hums in ways we can measure. Pulsars spin and send rhythmic radio signals across light years. Tiny cosmic metronomes keeping time with astonishing precision. Magnetars crackle. Quasars roar. Gravitational waves ripple through space-time, ringing like a bell struck by colliding black holes. These are not metaphors. They are literal vibrations of reality itself. In 2015, humans detected such a wave for the first time. A ripple in spacetime caused by the merger of two black holes more than 1 billion light-years away. It was not heard with ears but felt through instruments sensitive enough to measure a distortion smaller than the width of an atom. And yet, when that signal was converted into sound, it became a brief, haunting chirp, a momentary whisper from across the cosmos saying, "I was here." Perhaps the universe has always been whispering, and only now have we learned to listen. If you close your eyes and imagine floating in deep space, beyond all light and warmth, you might think you'd find nothing but stillness. But even there, particles move, quantum fields fluctuate, radiation shimmers in invisible frequencies. Existence itself vibrates. There is no such thing as true silence. And in that endless background hum, there is rhythm, the expansion of space, the turning of galaxies, the oscillation of atoms. It's all the same pattern, sound translated into being. When you breathe, you join that rhythm. The air moves through you the way waves move through the void. You are part of that cosmic resonance, the universe listening to itself one vibration at a time. So the next time you stand under a quiet night sky and think of silence, remember, what you call quiet is simply harmony too vast for your ears to catch. The universe is still singing, it always has been. Light travels endlessly, but it is fragile, can be absorbed, scattered, redshifted, or lost to time. The light you see from distant stars has crossed unimaginable distances, surviving cosmic dust, warped space, and the slow stretching of the universe itself. And still it reaches your eyes, ancient, delicate, faithful. Every beam of light is a story. Some began billions of years ago, when the first galaxies ignited. Some began only 8 minutes ago, when the sun last touched the surface of the earth. Each photon carries a fragment of the universe's memory, written in energy and time. But light also fades. As the universe expands, its wavelengths stretch, growing longer, colder, and dimmer. The light from the Big Bang has now cooled to microwaves. The light from distant galaxies, once bright and blue, drifts toward red, then infrared, until it vanishes beyond perception. Even light is not eternal. It slows, softens, and finally dissolves into the fabric of space itself. And yet, in that fragility lies beauty. Because every instant you see light, you are witnessing something irretrievable, a message that will never arrive again. When you look at a star, you are not seeing it as it is, but as it was. Some of those stars no longer exist. Their light outlived them. The cosmos glows not with presence, but with memory. Maybe that's why humans have always been drawn to light. It is both transient and eternal, both fragile and infinite. It reveals what exists but also reminds us what's gone. It teaches us that even the most fleeting moment can travel forever. The universe began with light, and everything that followed has been a conversation between light and shadow. It paints the galaxies, outlines the horizon, fills oceans, and fuels thought. Without it, there would be no warmth, no color, no life. But perhaps the greatest miracle is this: light doesn't only move through space. It moves through you. Every second, photons from the sun enter your eyes, striking cells in your retina that turn them into meaning, memory, and emotion. You don't just see the universe, you become its witness. So when you walk beneath the stars, remember, the light that reaches you has traveled across eternity for this single moment of recognition. Found you, and perhaps that's all the universe ever wanted, to be seen even once before it fades. If space is the stage of the universe, then time is its voice. Everything that exists does so within time's unfolding, a slow narration written in motion and decay. Yet time is not as simple as clocks and calendars. It bends, it stretches, it weaves. It is as alive as the cosmos it describes. Einstein taught us that time and space are one fabric, space-time, and that mass curves it. That means time moves differently in different places. Near a black hole, it slows. In deep space, it races ahead. Two observers, living in the same universe, can experience two different versions of now. It's almost poetic. The idea that time itself is relative, that there is no universal rhythm, only perspective. Perhaps that's why memories feel closer than they are, or why moments of awe seem to stretch longer than minutes can measure. Time, like the universe, is personal. And yet, through all its distortions, time gives meaning to everything. Without time, there would be no change, no birth or death, no growth or decay. Even the universe's expansion is time expressed through space. But time is not a straight line. It's more like a river that meanders, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, yet always flowing forward. The galaxies drift with it. The stars burn by it. The atoms vibrate to its rhythm. And somewhere in that current we find ourselves, creatures of impermanence trying to measure eternity. We build calendars and memories, capture moments in words and photographs. But deep down, we know the truth. Nothing stays. Everything moves. Everything transforms. Still, time is not our enemy. It's our collaborator. It gives the moment its weight, the present its preciousness. Teaches us that beauty lies in transience. The stars themselves owe their brilliance to the fact that they do not last forever. If the universe were static, unchanging, eternal, it would be lifeless. It is time's passing that allows evolution, art, love, and wonder to exist. Time is not stealing from us. It is gifting us experience. So when you feel the weight of time, remember that even galaxies feel it too. The same law that ages you also moves the cosmos toward balance. You are not separate from it. You are time folded into awareness. And maybe that's the ultimate language of the universe, not words, not light, but the rhythm of change. A soft unfolding, moment by moment, forever speaking, forever becoming. The story of the Big Bang is not just about galaxies and expansion. It is quietly about you. Every discovery we've made about the cosmos points inward as much as outward. The vastness of space mirrors the vastness of mind. The more deeply we look into the universe, the more we find reflections of ourselves. Your thoughts flicker like neurons in a galactic brain. Your emotions rise and fall like cosmic tides. The atoms in your body are scattered remnants of ancient stars. You are not merely made of the universe. You are the universe, condensed into form and feeling. When you dream, the universe dreams through you. When you love, it remembers its warmth. When you look up at the stars and feel small, the irony is that you are the very thing that allows those stars to be seen. Without consciousness, the cosmos would be beautiful but silent. With you, it becomes aware of its beauty. Perhaps that's why we search for meaning. Not because the universe is empty, but because it's full, so full that it overflows into us. The yearning to understand, the pull toward wonder, is the echo of the universe trying to know itself again. All the science in the world, the equations, the telescopes, the data are not separate from that wonder. They are its language. When we chart galaxies, we are tracing our own ancestry. When we study the Big Bang, we are studying the first line of our own story. And the story has never really stopped. The expansion continues. The light still travels. The atoms still dance. You are part of that motion. Fleeting, fragile, miraculous. The Big Bang did not just happen out there in some distant void. It is still happening here within you every second. Each heartbeat is a small expansion. Each breath, a soft echo of that first exhale. So, as the night deepens and your thoughts slow, remember, you are made of the oldest things in existence, yet you are living at the newest moment ever known. You are the meeting point of eternity and now. And as you drift toward sleep, imagine this. The stars above, the neurons within, the space between, all humming softly with the same pulse. The pulse of being. The quiet rhythm of everything. The Big Bang was not a beginning that ended. It is a song that continues, softly, through you. And tonight, as you rest beneath the same sky that has watched over every atom since time began, that song plays on. Quiet, infinite, eternal. You are not in the universe. You are the universe still expanding.